The nunnery of Mondstadt was famous for its choir, led by the oh-so-lovely Barbara Pegg, their songs traveling far through the guiding winds of their god Barbados. At least that was the meaning behind it. In truth, the animal god of freedom did not have many thoughts about the zealots of the church. He found it amusing that he who brought liberation would lead to the creation of a rather strict religion. But as long as it was free for anyone to join it, who was he to judge? Barbados, or as he now appeared to the world, Venti the Bard, was sitting alone in the cathedral's main room. The nuns were having a rehearsal. He honestly had never heard them sing, so might as well. It took him more days than he was willing to admit to let go for these few minutes of his beloved wine. It's funny, he thought. He already forgot the reason why he started drinking in the first place. Yet he kept going. He stretched and then folded his hands behind his head. His nuns slowly entered. Among them was you. Similar to Sister Rosaria, you had been an orphan, although your past hasn't been as troubled as hers. Unlike her, you never experienced a single fight in your life, and your devotion to your god reached deeper than that of most other nuns. There was just one problem. You weren't really a good singer. Because of that, you were the only nun in the choir simply there to mouth your singing. It was embarrassing, but at least so far no one has noticed. Then why were you still in the choir? Well, according to Barbara, it would be a shame to not have your pretty face on stage. Besides, your heart was still in the right spot, and regardless of singing or not singing, you honored your god regardless. The singing began, and after the first few spoken lines, Venti leaned forward. It was beautiful, inspiring. He huffed. This entire church thing was ridiculous to him, sure, but a true bard could appreciate any kind of music. And then he finally noticed it. An absence of a singular voice. He narrowed his eyes. Venti could make out who was singing what, but it didn't make sense to him. There was one nun too many. One voice was entirely missing. He smirked. Was one of his little sheep being lazy? He suppressed a snort. If he was to tell anyone that this affected him at all, he'd be a laughingstock. He could already hear the traveler's pixie laugh at him.
Ha! Paimon thought you were the god of freedom!
Yeah, no, that would not happen. But who amongst the nuns was it? You had noticed the bard when you came in. It was rare that the rehearsals were attended. Even Barbara's die-hard fans stayed away at this time. But you had heard of him. He was the man who had stolen an ancient and important artifact. Sure, he returned it, but it was in a horrible shape. Why was he here? The rehearsal began. The uneasy feeling of his gaze didn't leave you. Your best guess was that the other nuns were too busy singing to really care for his presence. Eventually, Venti leaned back and relaxed, smiling to himself. He had found you. His eyes focused for a moment entirely on you. He definitely did not want to forget your pretty face. And as soon as this little spectacle ended, he left. With a smug grin, he sat down on a stone bench before the cathedral, waiting for you and the nuns to leave. One by one, everyone left. He was glad that you were the last one. Still, with that all-knowing grin, he approached you. "Hey there," he said in an overly friendly tone. He gulped. "Hello. Blessings of the animal archon upon you." Crossing his arms, he said, "Ah, come on. There's no one around. You can let loose a bit." Hearing him say that, your body only got more tense. I just wanted to say that was a wonderful choir lesson. You suppressed a sigh. Yeah, we take good care of our voices and such. After all, we need to pay our respects to Lord Barbados. Venti bit his tongue before darkly saying, Then why did you not sing? You felt like you were dragged into an abyss. Stuttering, you squeaked, But I did sing. You blushed hard. Being raised as a nun, you never really learned how to properly lie. Quickly, one of his arms slid around your shoulders, and your blush intensified. It's okay, he purred. Barbados is the god of freedom. I'm sure he'd understand. You didn't reply. But you know, lying is a sin. Was this how Morax felt whenever he approached a mortal? Huh, he kinda liked it. You sighed sadly. You were overwhelmed with a strange feeling. It was dead quiet for a moment. I can't sing. Venti blinked in surprise. But Sister Barbara wants me to be on stage because of my face. Huh, I see. I'm sorry if I offended you, Bard. He half amused. Why would I be offended? You weren't sure yourself. It was just a feeling. Then he put a thumb under your chin, forcing you to look at him. Let's make a deal. Venti chuckled to himself. He almost said the word contract. You gulped. I teach you how to sing. And in return, he made a dramatic pause. I get to do whatever I want to you. Your eyes widened in fear. I mean, are you sure Barbados likes you not singing for him? Venti could not wait. Of course, the god of freedom wasn't planning on forcing you to do anything. But seeing your face at that little suggestion of his was worth it. In fact, just being close to you was worth the entire thing. He loved innocent girls like you. Maybe that was why he teased Barbara whenever he got the chance. Suddenly, Venti got really close to your ear. Meet me at Windrise tonight, and we'll sing together. From this moment forward, Venti became your teacher. Every night after curfew, you snuck out of the nunnery towards Windrise. There, Venti would be waiting for you, ready to teach you how to hit your notes better. The problem was that after about a week, things began to change. Not with your training. In fact, you were doing good enough progress. No, it was something else entirely. Something sinful and forbidden. You had been holding a note for 30 seconds now, when suddenly his fingers dug into your shoulders. You squeaked. What are you doing? He had a disappointed look on his face. Tisk, tisk, tisk. What do I say every day? You made a noise of discomfort, and he sighed. No, not today. He pointed at a small boulder, signaling you to sit. You followed his lead. Then he got behind you. A moan escaped you when his hands found your shoulders again. How can you sing properly if you keep seizing up like that? Every little movement his skilled hands made sent shocks throughout your body. It hurt, but in a good way. Until he hit a certain spot. You shrieked in pain and jolted up. Venti laughed loudly. Your shoulders shivered. The pain had instantly spread throughout your entire being. Luckily, it was brief. After the bard finished laughing, he pointed back at the rock. "Go on," he said. Reluctantly, you returned to your sitting position. This time, however, he whispered something. "Next time you jump, I will stop teaching you." Your eyes filled with water. You had improved so much with him, and you needed a reason to stay close to the bard. You needed him. Slowly he continued his kneading. You had difficulty breathing from the pain and muscle spasms, but you felt it getting better. Your body became more used to his movements. And he knew what he was doing, of course. Once again he brushed over that really hard and painful spot. But this time, whatever surged in your body, it was less painful and more pleasurable. Your head jolted back as you moaned, your tongue jumping out of your mouth and your eyes rolling back as you heaved. Venti chuckled. I didn't realize you were capable of such a lewd expression. Quietly he added, "And I haven't even done anything drastic yet." After catching yourself, you bowed back forward, face as red as a fresh apple. I'm sorry, you cried. He smiled and sat down next to you. "For my sinful behavior." Without a warning, his arms wrapped around you. You blinked and felt your eyes widen, mostly out of surprise. He didn't think any less of you, did he? "It's okay," he said. "But what about Lord Venti interrupted you by placing a finger on your lips. Sensually, he grinned widely. Despite that, he also had a mild blush on his face. "I'm very certain he would be okay with this." Your blush intensified. You didn't even know what this was. He removed his finger. Immediately, you began to heavily breathe. Your body was doing weird things you never experienced before. You were scared, yet also strangely curious. You wanted more. "I don't even know what we are doing." His smile widened. "At first, I just wanted to tease you a bit." He chuckled. "You nuns are good for that." But then, he looked away. "Honestly, I didn't expect you to agree to our little deal." You fidgeted. "I was raised to be obedient." Venti leaned forward and whispered, "I thought you were a devout follower of the god of freedom." It doesn't sound very free to me, does it? Your lips quivered. "Well, if you really want to be that obedient." His face was now only an inch away from yours. You felt lost in his turquoise eyes. They almost seemed to glow in the pale moonlight. "Allow me to take control then." Venti quickly closed the distance, pressing his soft, almost feminine lips onto yours. You had never kissed someone before. Your heart pounded. It was really distracting. It felt as if your chest was about to burst. Not only that, your entire body felt like it was boiling. You separated for a moment, your eyes unfocused, the tip of your tongue dripping salvia. "I feel strange," you whispered. "How strange?" he asked. On their own, without really wanting to, your hands gripped your habit. "I want to tear it off, you cried, and throw myself against you. I want to feel you with my skin. This was such a scary feeling. But Venti just smiled. Do you trust me? He asked. What you are experiencing is normal. Here, let me help you out. Your body shuddered when his hands began to slowly take off your clothes. The more skin you revealed to him, the heavier your breathing became, and the more you yearned for his touch. You were about to give in into your sinful desires, but you were powerless to fight it. You wanted this. Feel his slender body press against yours, moan in animalistic pleasure as he took your innocence. Of course, Barbados knew he would outlive you. But after finally having peeled you out of your clothes, he smiled. He would cherish the short time he'd have with you to the fullest and remember you for the rest of eternity.